You know, everybody tends to talk about justice, and we all have our own definition of what justice is and what exactly it stands for. But we all have our own, just because we all have our own definitions doesn't mean we don't all stick to the same context. So I just want to start this review off by reading a couple of quotes about justice, three of the top quotes that really fit the description of this movie, of Daredevil. So the first one is by Albert Einstein. He said, "In matters of truth and justice, there is no difference between large and small problems, because for issues concerning the treatment of people are all one and the same." And then, of course, we all know the quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "Injustice everywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. No man is above the law, and no man is below it either." How's it going, YouTube? What's up, Instagram? And welcome to the next episode on Sterling on Cinemas. That's Cinemas with an S. And today, for Marvel Monday series, I will be giving you my review on Daredevil. So, if you are new to this channel or new to this playlist, I dare you to subscribe. I dare you to like. I dare you to click that bell to keep up to date with everything new from all three series, from any of the three series, so you can keep up to all of those videos. And I dare you to watch it to the very end. And the same thing goes to if you are on Instagram. Like, share it with your friends and family to help grow that number of views. And don't forget to comment if you have something good to support in the system. Let's get to it. Now, the seemingly forgettable Marvel flick Daredevil sees attorney Matt Murdock, played by Ben Affleck, who is blind, but his other four senses function with superhuman sharpness. By day, Murdock represents the downtrodden, and at night, he is Daredevil, the man without fear, the scarlet swashbuckler, a masked vigilante, a relentless avenger of justice. But when Wilson Fisk, played by Clarke Duncan, hires Bullseye, played by Colin Farrell, to kill Daredevil, Murdock must rely on his own senses and search out the conspirators against justice, which may include his own girlfriend, Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner. Now, here's my stance on the story. I would say that between the Blade movie and the Daredevil movie, this one is better and more engaging. Not because I'm more familiar with Daredevil than I am with Blade, but it was also one of my earlier exposures to the Marvel Universe, and the world of Matt Murdock and Daredevil is simply leans on how justice is served. The story of Daredevil is taking almost every little detail from his origin story and applying it to the film, which makes it nostalgic for fans, but entertaining and tragic to watch for moviegoers. Now, whether you love the series, the TV series on Netflix better than this or not, you have to admit, like, the origin story, it did a good job on capturing and recreating the origin story like most superhero films should. If it's the first entry in a character's franchise or trilogy, but it captures all the important formulas, like the important ingredients in Matt Murdock, like how his father was a boxer, how he got blind by a similar substance. I believe it's water hazard. It's not. Only difference is with this is that he didn't save a blind person by costing his sight, but he happened to run into a truck that caused his eyesight to get lost, but heightened his other senses, which, by the way, is not uncommon with everybody. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been told this, but like when you lose one sense, your other four senses become enhanced. Like if I were blind, I could hear footsteps from a couple miles away. You know, this is just with anybody. But I believe Stan Lee just wanted to create a character that, with a disability, whose advantages, who actually could be his advantage for doing it for the greater good of other people. Like I said, Matt Murdock's origin story is no different from the average vigilante in comic books, how he's avenging his parents' death and will punish on those. But what makes Daredevil different from most comic book films is that this is a man who has lost his senses, not just literally, but emotionally too. There was a line in the film that stood out to me as it makes more sense than what the film is trying to present from the comics. It's so by a pastor who was saying that it's ironic, by day you represent justice and mercy, but by night you're playing the role of the jury, executioner, and judge, jury, and executioner. But the comics presents Daredevil as the man without fear, somebody who preys on the ruthless and merciful in order to serve justice. But the film presents him sort of as an anti-hero, because I was kind of thrown off when he killed that man in the train, or like he let this man get ran over by the train. So I'm thinking, is he really a hero? But the movie also has a few action sequences that are reminiscent of Blade, with the dark and flashy tone with a tragic mood to it. The characters. I just want to elaborate on that bit I was speaking about a couple seconds ago, how Daredevil may be an anti-hero. According to Michael D. Stewart at Pop Matters article, he stated, Daredevil is a character of vast contradictions. Kind of like how I stated earlier. He is a lawyer who believes in the law but still runs into the night as a vigilante. A blind man who can see better than most of us. But he's not an anti-hero. He's a tragic hero. In a way, the character of Daredevil feels more like a product of tragedy, like Batman, who is out to punish those who are unjust and not just some prowling devil who is out for cold blood. Now, Ben Affleck may not be known for playing a lot of superheroes aside from Batman, or is even a favorite in the superhero genre, which is pretty evident by how people feel about him playing Batman and how people feel about him playing Daredevil. But I think he does a great job at playing a burdened and miserable Matt Murdock in a determined and death-defying Daredevil. I mean, sure most of those stunts are CG, but when you see him being Daredevil, you can know and just feel the character. Now, Jennifer Garner's Elektra has a vague character background and didn't really offer much in this movie as far as heroics, and is more of a love interest and hides most of her warrior side, which will make sense because I am going to be watching her spin-off film that I have not seen yet, so hopefully y'all see how I think about that. Colin Farrell's Bullseye is one of those characters whose film counterpart is not as deadly or compelling as the Virgin in the comics, because I don't know if this is how he is in the comics, but Bullseye is very cocky and less speaking. Like, he's not, well, okay, what I'm trying to say is that he's very nonverbal in this one. Not very talkative like his comic book counterpart. I'm not sure. I haven't read any of the Daredevil comics. But from what I know, he is very deadly, almost to the point where he can turn anything into a target, anything into a bullet, something as small as a paper clip. But even before the Netflix series, the best casting in this movie, though, is Michael Clarke Duncan as Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of crime. His character may have not offered a lot in his role as far as evil goes either, but his appearance and physical strength made him intimidating. And Michael Clarke Duncan's, y'all seen Michael Clarke Duncan, he's big and he has a very deep voice, and that makes this role here very convincing. Rotten Tomatoes gives Daredevil a 44% score. Daredevil may have had his success on TV with a 92% score on Rotten Tomatoes on that TV show, but his underrated live-action film in 2003 is not as enjoyable or epic to watch as some of the other Marvel films, but the movie accurately captures the grim and tragic nature of Matt Murdock, his friends, his enemies, with a few personality malfunctions. I will give this movie 7.9 Nessos out of 10. So that is my review on the Daredevil movie from 2003. Y'all can let me know how you guys feel about this seemingly forgettable Marvel film from the early 2000s. And I'll see you guys tomorrow with my next episode on the Pixar series. Good night.